LinkedIn. Let's get ready to connect. Here we go.
He challenged me. He said, you should meet 2 or 3 people every day.
We're talking about how to level up on LinkedIn, engagement, being the go-giver, the idea that being open to opportunity.
We're all deal with challenges, but how do you overcome that?
Master Connector with Steve Spiro and Cameron Toth is live on air.
Show. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We are excited to see you in the chat. So make sure you're letting us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know who you are so you can connect and basically just get into the theme of what this show is all about, which is connection and community and being the light and good vibes. I'm going to throw it over to my man, Steve. Make sure, again, if you are watching, make sure you let us know where you're tuning in from. I'm coming to you from Valhalla, New York. Steve is coming to you from Stamford, Connecticut. Rob's going to let us know where he's tuning in from today when he comes on. We are excited to be with you. Thank you, community. Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, what's going on, friends? It's Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct and feeling a lot better. Last week was a little tough, but I'm doing great now. Just a little bit of the voice here, but hey, listen, my question is this to you guys. Forget the whole, wellness, sickness stuff, but do you struggle to feel fulfilled, right? Do you see others who appear to have it all together and seem to have found fulfillment? I don't know if that's been some of my questions over the years, right? First, we don't really know if they have it all together. That's the first thing, right? And if they really are fulfilled, we really don't know. But assuming they are, and there are people that have done that, is it because they were born into a great family? I doubt that, right? Did they just get inspired? I don't know. Maybe there's a formula. So for years, honestly, I was grinding it out, knowing deep down that there needed to be some kind of higher purpose for me. And I wasn't truly fulfilled until something changed. And today, we're going to learn about the fulfillment formula. We're going to get into some of that. So if you're ready to have my man, Mr. Cameron Toth, who I appreciate so much, he's the Wizard of Oz behind the camera and the curtain here. I want you to type in hashtag bring it right now. Hashtag bring it. And we're going to have my man bring it. I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Absolutely. We're gonna put the screen big on Rob there. There we go. 1 billion healthy shirt. We like that. Strongness going into the game. Rob is a businessman, a philanthropist, a musician, a podcaster, a husband, a father. He loves technology. The RPA show is hosted by Rob Howze and Wilton Rogers, the show that brings you the latest insights on robotic process automation and how it's impacting every industry. In 2007, Rob Howze co-founded a 501c3 organization called Worldwide Community for the benefit of school-age children who experience various sports, athletic, and academic challenges in a positive and empowering environment. Please welcome to the show the Robomatic, the Dramatic, the Automatic Fanatic, Mr. Rob Howze.
Wow. Automatic Fanatic. That was amazing. That's incredible. I need to get that clip for the intro of everything that I do.
Most of our guests want to take Cameron home with them, but you know what? He's mine, man. He's mine.
Gets possessive over there. Gets a little jelly. My Steve there. Listen. We appreciate you. We're really excited about this conversation for a lot of different reasons. Steve, get us going on this conversation here. We're looking to really dig into this fulfillment thing, and for our audience, for everybody that's tuning in the audience, what does fulfillment mean to you? We'd love to hear from you. What does fulfillment mean to you? Type it into the comments down below. We'd love to hear what is something that fulfills you as we have this conversation on the fulfillment formula. Steve, get us started.
And to that point, absolutely. Type in hashtag fulfilled right now, because we're gonna get into that right now. Okay. So the question for you is, Rob, did you always feel fulfilled? And what happened? Pretty short question.
Steve, yeah, thank you for that question. And honestly, I mean, the answer is no. Everyone's answer on the planet is going to be no. But the answer is can it be fulfilled? The answer is yes. So no, it wasn't always, but I did arrive. And when I did arrive, I did bring some people with me.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, so tell us a little bit about that journey. So what kind of change? What happened? What's the kind of walk us through a little sneak preview. We have a bunch of questions we want to get to, so we don't want to go too deep into this.
Just
give us a little bit on how that kind of happened for you.
Honestly, I can shorthand it for you right now and give you a really good understanding about it, a broad perspective. So one of the attributes that helped me to accelerate in the fulfillment was listening. It was the empathetic listening. It's the difference between listening and empathetic listening. Listening is just hearing sounds. Empathetic listening is actually listening with the intent to understand. Okay. Also to yourself. So when you do those things, you then get better perspective. You get a better understanding. You get closer to people. You're more accepted by people because they feel more accepted by you. A lot of things begin to happen. So I began to understand that pretty much that attribute of listening was a superpower. And that's what kind of accelerated my route.
Can you tell me that again? Because I wasn't.
Nice. Ding, ding, ding. And anyway, where are you? I forgot to ask this, Rob. Where are you coming to us live from today?
So I'm from the DMV, they call it, which is DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
You know, listen, that term confused me for a while. I was watching a basketball show, and they kept on saying the DMV, and I'm like, the last time, I heard DMV, that's standing for Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yes.
Right. And then it also sounds like the demilitarized zone for like South Korea, right? So I was like, what DMV, what are you talking about? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh man, all right, I know that area because I don't
know if it's like that down by you, Rob, but the DMV up in the New York area, it's better today because they do by appointment.
He's gonna take it to the DMV.
Oh my God, it was the worst experience. Like, you just.
You don't want to do it. You dread it when you have to do it. Yeah.
Talk about going to a place that makes you feel unfulfilled with people that seem very unfulfilled with their life.
Very, yeah. But it's gotten better. It really has.
It has.
COVID did a lot for that, and they
goodness,
they've required appointments now, and it's way better. Yeah,
automation. They've gotten more technical.
Automation.
Talk about the automation is for so many people. The bank, the banks, the folks. That's a wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about, this isn't exactly a show for it, but I know you're going to talk about automation. But the idea that change forces you, and a lot of people, once change happens, they start feeling unfulfilled, right? Because they're like, oh, this isn't what I pictured to happen.
Right.
But this is one of those things where change forced so many businesses to move past the fax machine and all this other nonsense where it's like, you can't expect people to go. We don't have that technology in the house. And you can't force people to go pay, $3 a mailbox, et cetera, to fax something if nobody wants to be next to each other, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Well, good stuff. Well, good to see Susan on the show with us as usual. I saw Dimitri, your man Dimitri from Guatemala was in the house.
I love it. We always ask for it, and I feel like people get old and bored and tired with it. But I loved hearing Yolanda letting us know that she's coming from Texas, right, as we know. But just good to hear Susan, BC, Canada. We have a very international following, and it's really good that Dimitri's checking in from Guatemala. Everybody that's having World Cup fever, the flags are coming out, right? There's a lot of fun going on with that right now. Sid checking in here, and Jen Russman, which I got to say this out loud because it's just fun to say. Howze is in the house. There we go. Sid Cadigal, fulfillment means completion in the end. So thank you everybody for checking in. All right, Steve, keep us going here.
Yeah, you were touching on change there, Cameron. So I want our community right now to type in the hashtag what, and we're going to go ahead and dig into that. So, what was the catalyst for change in your life, right? And we're not talking, we could talk later about automation and the change in that side, but we're talking more kind of that fulfillment change. And what was the catalyst for you in your life?
It really was my marriage. 2018. It was a more than a change. It was a metamorphosis. But what happened to me was I came to my wife and I was genuinely wanting to know her opinion about me. When I asked her how she felt, some of the things that she shared, I was unaware of, which indicated to me that I needed to do more listening, as I was saying earlier, in that empathetic listening, and then beginning to understand what her love language was and is. And by me doing that, it actually changed our relationship. Some things manifested just from that exchange. And there's some things that she opened up to me about, which took our relationship to the next level. But none of this would have happened without the listening. The listening came from asking the questions. So I asked the questions because I was really interested in our marriage doing something more than what it was currently doing. And come to find out, I was at the root of it. So how do you find the root? You ask, as John Maxwell says, if you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers. Right. And so that's what I was doing, digging. I found it. So here we are now, and just living our best lives in regards to our marriage. And that works in every category of life. You ask those questions with the intent of really understanding, the empathetic listening, you'll get the insight you need.
That's great. And it wouldn't be a show if we didn't talk about a book. So you just dropped the bomb with that book. And if you haven't read it already, The 5 Love Languages, I know Cameron will probably bring it up at some point, but it's a great book. And acts of service, gifts, quality time, physical touch, and words of affirmation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting, right? So for quite a while in my marriage, my wife she's a definitely acts of service person for sure, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And she would do these things for me, and she, I was, and it doesn't do anything for me. And it was almost like I was almost maybe borderline annoyed about it. And so I did double damage, right? Because I wasn't, number one, I was kind of like not even responsive about it. And number two, and not appreciative of it. Number, the other part of it, there it is. I know I could count on this man. He's awesome. But the other part of it was I was, she wanted that, right? She was hoping that I would get a clue. And so I've learned from that. And, again, I think there's a value in relationships, right? Especially our significant other, marriage, whatever it is, in that you can rather kind of help yourself grow and become better, right? If you're not going to find yourself in your marriage, but you can definitely learn from your marriage and learn how to better be a better communicator. And so today,
I got to just say, mic drop moment, Steve. You got to learn from your marriage, and you mentioned it before, Rob. Empathetic listening, because while you guys were talking, I'm just thinking about some of the conversations that I've had with my wife, and I can be super frustrated. She can be really frustrated with me, and having those conversations where you're coming from a place of knowledge and listening is so much more healthy. And if you're actually learning from the relationship,
yes,
you can feel a lot more fulfilled as you're going through that relationship and know what the garbage is and the stuff that you need to pay attention to and the stuff that you don't need to pay attention to. Extremely important points. Love that.
Yeah.
Great point. Great point.
So I mean, in my case, so I started making her breakfast, making her coffee, and making sure I did the dishes and the things that she wanted, and magically she was a happier wife, and magically some of my love languages was getting
magically.
Magic. That's what I called it. I was like, wow, okay, I'm going to do this more often.
Exactly. And so mine is words of affirmation and physical touch. I don't know what guy somewhere in the top 1 or 2 is not physical touch.
Right. Exactly.
But anyway, yeah. So it's pretty amazing. So thank you for pointing that book out. Thank you for a little bit of your, the catalyst for you and change. I want to kind of move on a little bit here and talk a little bit about belief. So I want you, community, right now, please type in hashtag believe, right? And, we've talked about this on our show before, how important it is to believe in yourself, right? And so I'd like to know your perspective. How does believing in yourself help?
Oh my goodness. So it's the beginning, the middle, and the end of everything. Believing in yourself is everything. Everything from the genesis to the conclusion. Because if you don't believe in yourself, who will? That's why, number one. When life is over and you've lived it all and you're down on the ground, there's only one person in that wonderful casket. Okay. When you look in the mirror, only one reflection back, hopefully, right? Comes down to you. And so you have to believe in you. You have to believe in everything that you can possibly do. And if you don't, if it's hard to believe in yourself, then think of it this way. You are so unique. You are the most unique that there can be. This is how. There has never, ever been anyone like you. Your hair follicle, no one's ever like you. Ever. There will never, ever be anyone like you. Your DNA, never. You're so unique. You are unduplicatable. So when you double down on your uniqueness and you double down with your uniqueness in a certain area, come on, it's going to be special just because of those elements. So believe in yourself, because look, it's a 400 trillion chance. What was it? 400 trillion to 1 that you're you right now. Like, it's like crazy.
Now, I had a guy recently tell me, he said, weren't you at such and such place? I said, I could have sworn. I said, well, maybe that was my doppelganger. I don't know, but you're right. I mean, we are, miracle of God. I'm a believer, but you're right. We are so unique and so special. And we've spoken about this on the show, that each of us have something special that we could bring to the table. Even if we've dealt with struggles or challenges, listen, or whatever those are, we've made it through.
Yes.
We're here, right? And we've learned from those things, hopefully, right?
Right.
But there's so many things that we could offer people, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's important to believe in yourself, but sometimes it can take some time. It's easy to say, not necessarily easy to receive and to do.
Yep.
Right.
So true.
I think sometimes, for me, it's knowing, like you said, that we were made by the Creator, wonderfully made, right? That's there's some scripture in there about that, but basically it's just believing in your heart. And then I also, and I know we're not going to talk a lot about this today, but maybe touch on a little bit, when you help other people, and you've really served other people, and then they start to speak positively about your impact on them, that you even believe even more about, in yourself,
But you hit the ball out of the park into the water. It's gone. Okay. That, what you just said about the giving, that's humanity's superpower. We were just talking about this yesterday. Yesterday was the Tuesday was Giving Tuesday was yesterday. Right. And the power in that is, not only does when you give, it impacts everything and everyone, not just outwardly, but even like biochemically. Certain things happen neurologically. So when you give to someone, you create this thing called a dose of happiness, DOSE, which is dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. All boost your immune system, boost your energy.
That's good.
The person who you gave to gets it. The people, the onlookers, they're getting it. Everyone's getting this dose, right? And that's from giving. So heck yeah, that's our superpower. And so the more we give, really, the more you get. Go getter, right? Yeah. But so you can give selfishly, or just give from your heart. Either way, everyone's gonna win.
I love it. Yeah. No, and it's appropriate to speak about that a little bit, because we are in the middle of about to go into that giving season, right? And I know that there's a lot more joy when you literally get a chance to give somebody a gift and seeing them receive that gift, than it is. And I love that dose. I have to try to remember that. Maybe we could put it somewhere and write it out. And
I got that from Jacqueline Way. She runs the 365 Give movement, where they had that National Day of Giving. It's absolutely incredible. It's so phenomenal. You got to have her on your show. I'll introduce you to her.
Please.
What's her name again?
Jacqueline Way.
Jacqueline Way. Okay.
I was going to say
for
WAY or Is Jacqueline spelled W-A-Y?
Yep, W-A-Y.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. All right. Well, we'll definitely looking to have her.
Yeah, I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah.
I was going to say on the topic of giving and giving some advice around fulfillment, right? Because we are getting into a season. I think people can feel incredibly unfulfilled and incredibly challenged with giving to others. And I know we just recently as a family gave advice, me and my wife, to our kids. We were like, because they were like, oh, we're going to buy stuff. And we're like, guys, why don't you put your money together, get us something that's meaningful. And at the end of the day, if you don't spend any money on it, that's really might be the best thing, because the thing that we value the most are the things that you put time into. When you wrote me that song, when you, created that gift for me, that piece of art, that was something that I really, really valued. Yeah. And so what's some advice for our viewers right now on gift giving, so that we can both feel fulfilled through the gift giving process and less challenged?
I think really, this is a great question, man. Great question. I think, anything from your heart is good. Anything from your heart is good. And another thing is, really through that empathetic listening, you can hear other people's hearts and what they really desire. And if you can match their desire with the gift from your heart, that's a good collaboration.
I think the challenge that a lot of people get into is like, it's like, hey, Rob, I want to get you something for Christmas. What do you want?
Yeah. Right.
Rob, what do you want? And it's hard. It's really hard to answer that question.
It is. And you can kind of think also, if you know them, what could they benefit from? What do you think? And you know what I mean? We can call it a hypothesis, But put that on there.
No, I think from the heart makes a lot of sense. I'd also say for folks that are like, well, what does that mean from the heart, right? So we were talking about the empathetic listening. I recently saw a gentleman friend of mine, and I got him a gift because I saw there was something that I could do. There was something that I had a solution for.
That's good.
And I gave him something that met that solution, right? And so I think, when you do things like that, even if it lands a little flat, it's not going to land flat, because that's where the heart of the gift comes from, right? It shows some thought. It shows some foresight. Even if it lands a little weird, like I already got it, I don't need it, whatever. It shows that the person was truly thinking about you versus and I've been the guy that does this too, but you got car vacuum number 14 that I handed out this Christmas, right?
Right. That's great. It's interesting in that, I am one of those guys that does enjoy giving, but I think and back to what you were speaking about before, right? If you really know the person, if you're listening and you're really getting to know them, and you get to learn about their needs, their wants, their desires, their challenges, the things that kind of are holding them back, then you'll know, right? I mean, I'm a big reader, so a book, especially if there's something they're struggling with, can be a good one. I'm not trying to say that's the end all answer, but something of value, something that's going to uplift them as a person versus a trinket, I think is always, to me, a better, more thoughtful gift than just something like, I don't know, one of those the things that go on the back of your cell phone or something, right?
Right. Little gadget. Yeah,
exactly. Little gadget. Yeah, so, for sure. Well, good stuff. We want to keep this moving here. I'd like the audience, the community. We sort of touched on it already, but we want to put in hashtag others, because we want to be others focused for sure, and we want to talk about that a little bit more. I mean, we kind of touched on it a lot. Other than the joy and the fulfillment of giving others, to others, what are other values, would you say, for that? Is there anything other areas that you could think of that that can help you? Like for me, I believe what it does, and it not in a manipulative way, but when you give to others, when you help others, right? there's a sense of loyalty that kind of gets there's a bond that's created. And I believe there's also other values. Again, I'm not sure, it's not a manipulation thing, but I found that to be a value of helping others and giving to others. What about yourself? Any other perspective?
Oh, well, absolutely. So, giving not just works, neurologically, emotionally, relationally, every lead you can think of. So yes, if you have a giving heart, you're kind in that way, you're going to attract those type of people into your life. You're going to also attract those kind of business relations into your life, right? And then people are going to want to reciprocate that energy right back into your life. So yeah, there is, like I said, there's a selfish reason for giving because you're always going to receive somehow, but then some people, just give from their heart and they're just going to receive, So you're going to win regardless when you're giving, just because of the nature of it.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jen.
What were you saying? Yeah, Rob.
No, I was saying hey to Genergy, my friend down
Oh
there.
yeah. Yeah, keep those shout outs going for sure. Hey, Jen. Yeah, we know there's the law of reciprocity, the law of sowing and reaping are in play. If you give, you're going to eventually get. We know that, but I think there's also a heart thing. I also feel like you're going to connect better with people. You're going to create better relationships if you are others focused. I had, for years and years and years, I've blocked myself from other people because I was so me focused because, my situation, I was pretty damaged. Right. And, there was a lot of hangups I had. And so, but being others focused allow people they feel that. It's not just a technique. They feel it. And when they feel it, they're drawn to you. And that's some of the intrinsic values I found of being others focused.
Yeah. That's it.
Good stuff.
What was that? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's right.
I know.
Yeah, and I'll say this, I think the value of, and I talk with my business coach about this with the business, but following up with people, I think one of the things that we can do for the holidays and in general throughout the year is just honest, direct follow-up. Picking up the phone, calling somebody, reaching out, checking on folks. You don't know the value of that until somebody, and I'm not saying, I'm going to call Rob, right? I'm going to, hey, Rob, hey, how's everything going? Right. I'm honestly going to dive in and say, hey, especially if I've developed a relationship with Rob already, how are things going? What's going on with so-and-so? Have you made any progress on this front? And really deep dive into that in a way that's comfortable and really in a way that develops our relationship. So I get to know a little bit more about Rob. Rob gets to know a little bit more about me. I think people, when they think about reaching out, it's like, hey, what's up? No, that's not really your whole heart being put out on your sleeve. And certainly if you're not sharing your failures as well as your successes, that's not putting your whole heart out on your sleeve. And Andrea says, we all start there. It takes time to trust ourselves in order to learn how to trust others, right? I love that. So that reaching out thing, man, that can be a lot more valuable than sending out a cheap gift or something like that too, for businesses that are out there. And I think we're going to jump into tech and automation. So how can we put automation into this puzzle? Because we talk about living with heart here, right? But how do we live with heart if we're automating things?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the quick, fast answer is this. So automation, the one that we're talking about, takes away, let's use a use case. We had a young lady who was spending about 10 hours a week doing this repetitive task on the computer, this process every week, every month, for months on months. She's been doing this 10 hours a week. We come in, we bring a digital employee. It's called RPA, robotic process automation, a real long fancy word for automating redundancies, right? We come in 2 weeks, and now that 10-hour process is done in 4 minutes. And now she's doing some other things. She's actually now out speaking and doing presentations and happy, right? And so the way that we make ourselves happy with automation is by automating all the repetitive, mundane things we don't want to do anyway, right? Doing the mundane things was fun in the 100 years ago when we first started working. It was fun doing the same thing over and over because it was the beginning of work. But now we have evolved in this part of the 21st century, and there's no reason for humans to do repetitive work, right? And so this is not just for big companies. This is for any individual. There are things that you can automate in your life. Start thinking about, right? Start reviewing what you do on a daily basis. Find out where those redundancies, where the repetitive actions are, and investigate if that can be automated. If you got questions about that, that's what I'm here for. They call me the humologist. It comes from the word humology, humans and technology and how we come together.
And I love it because, I find myself doing some mundane tasks and I'm sitting there, I could be reaching out to somebody with one of those heart-to-heart phone calls. I could be shopping for somebody. I could be doing something that is human connection stuff versus paperwork, filing, downloading this to upload over here, all that kind of stuff. So I love that piece of it. Steve, I know you got a question for my man, Rob Howze. He's on mute. It's not a good show unless we got one
guy.
Yeah,
exactly. But for a guy who's task oriented, I actually don't mind the repetitive tasks because it kind of gives me a place to hide from people. But in reality, we want to have those a lot of those things, eliminated or minimized if we can, because it doesn't help us from a fulfillment standpoint. I think ultimately it's just a way to just sort of kind of fill time. But the show today is focused on what, the fulfillment formula, right? So Rob, we've touched on it. Maybe you could recap if you've already covered it already, but what would you say the fulfillment formula is if you had to kind of bullet it out for our community here?
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that question because the answer was birthed in 2018. I was telling you this story about my wife and how the revelation of me coming to this understanding. And the fulfillment formula is basically a formula that you can implement in any area of your life, your relationships, your business, your community, and you're going to optimize your fulfillment. You will optimize your fulfillment with these three ingredients. These three ingredients make up the fulfillment formula. So you are in the laboratory, mad scientist. You're the mad social scientist of your life. And ingredient number one is self-reflection. Self-reflection can also be called introspection. And that's the first ingredient. And the reason why this is the first ingredient, because you have to reflect on yourself and what you're doing to understand what you're doing. What you can measure, you can improve. Same thing with business, but in particular your life. And that's what I was doing when I introspected to ask myself, how was my wife actually feeling about me? Which then gave me the opportunity for the second ingredient, which is course correction. Self-reflection is number one. Course correction is number two. And the reason course correction is two is because as you are introspecting, you then want to make the proper adjustments based off your analysis. So once I found out that I was being a jerk unknowingly, I could stop being a jerk knowingly. That's what course correction is. Same thing with business. You review, reflect, and then you adjust. And then the third ingredient is humility. Humility gives you the ability to see things through humble eyes. When you're not humble and you have ego, a lot of times your perception will be distorted based off your emotions. But humility allows you to be low enough to be able to see everything. Humility actually puts you high. You sit low, but you wind up high. It's interesting. Gratitude, attitude, altitude. It's kind of that formality. So self-reflection, course correction, and humility. We are in the laboratory with these ingredients. You implement this in your life, and goodness gracious, it's going to be a great day.
Awesome. Preach on there. Preach on. There you go. It's great stuff. Well, this has been amazing, and I know you have an offer for the community, right? I think Cameron's about to put that up there, but there's a free copy of the RPA playbook that you're offering to the community here.
Yes.
So there it is. Thank you, Cameron. But we just appreciate having you on, Rob, and it's I know you and I clicked, and we've done a guest podcast, and just appreciate you big time, and your heart, your humility, your everything about you is just amazing. And Cameron was asking me a little bit about you before the show, and Cameron, I don't know, I think I pretty much nailed it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And listen, before we get off of this thing, I'm sure there's somebody that has a question about what 1 billion healthy means on the shirt. So what does that stand for?
So years ago, I came up with this idea. We had a camp, lots of kids. We had a TV show, and the camp was called Camp Fit. Healthy is the new wealthy. And so we said, you know what? Let's go for 1 billion healthy. Because if we can get 1 billion healthy people, right? And then they just inspire one, what is that? That's 2 billion. Let's just keep doing that. It was such a beautiful concept. So 1 billion healthy is the goal.
I love it. And I love the work that you're doing. I'm a big advocate for education and making sure that doors are opening for our youth, especially, but people in general.
Yep.
But the idea that, especially taking advantage of the young mind and the young body, and exposing that to the idea that there are more opportunities available to you. It's an abundant world. And it's an opening people's minds to that. If you can stay healthy, you get one body in this life, right? And taking care of it is really important. We talk about it endlessly on this show. We're a show about connection. We're a show about, business, and the idea that you have to stay physically healthy in order to be mentally healthy is something that comes up over and over and over again. So love that you're pushing forward on that. Susan Fergus says, I like the name and more the concept. We appreciate you. We definitely want to point out once again for folks that are looking for more on the RPA playbook, right? The automation playbook, that they can go to that link that is in the comments. We appreciate you. If you've been in the comments today, make sure you connect with Rob Howze. Make sure you connect with each other. This show is all about networking. We want to shout out so many of the people that have been with us here today. Andrea Glasser. I love that. Healthy is the new wealthy, right? Susan Farrago, Sid Cadigal, who came in and helped us by putting some of the big points that you just laid down, and certainly gave us one of these mic drop moments for the show. So we appreciate that a great deal. And all the other folks, Yolanda, who's such an amazing community member showing up every week. We appreciate you and love you dearly, coming into us from Texas, right? Everybody that checked in, we appreciate you. And we want to shout out our sponsors, because that is one of the things that helps us make this show possible. So a big shout out to Wes Lumos with Sales Connector and Jordan Mendoza with Blaze Your Own Trail. Definitely check them out on masterconnector.show, where you can go and see this episode later and share the love and see all of the different things that are happening with the masterconnector.show there. All right.
Jordan Mendoza. Yeah. Good brother.
We need to crush it.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Big time. And listen, as Cameron mentioned before, we're about being the light, uplift, and inspire and encourage. And so make sure you be others focused. Make sure you be that active listener. Make sure that you're giving with the right heart, as we talked about today. And one of the ways you can do that, this is not for us, for Cameron and I, but this is for other people. And just share this, if you like the show today, share this link out, share it out to people, tell people about this next week. We love to be an inspiration. We want to be that lamplighter to light the lamp across the land here. So we just appreciate. So we're going to end as we always do.
You mentioned one thing, Stephen. I want to get this. So next week, same bad time, same bad channel.
Yes.
Justin Clark, training at work is our topic, and I'll put that link in the chat as well, so you can definitely register early for that. We appreciate you there. All right, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Move forward.
We ended by just counting down 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to crush it. And so, community, you guys can type in the keyboard. We're going to count it out, and then we're going to shout out crushing and throw our fist up in the air and punch the camera. So, you ready? 5, 4,
3, 2, 1. Crush it! Have an amazing week, everybody. We love you. We enjoy you being a part of our community. Thank you very much.
he challenged me. He said, you should meet 2 or 3 people every day.
We're talking about how to level up on LinkedIn and engagement, being the go-giver, the idea that being open to opportunity.
We all deal with challenges, but how do you overcome that?
Master Connector with Steve Spiro and Cameron Toth is live on air.